Hi, everybody. It's Nanette from the Cascade branch of Kent District Library, and I appreciate you taking time from your busy day to spend some time with us talking about books. First and foremost, I want to tell you that I'm sorry to say that my friend Penny will not be online, but she is going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or any book recommendations you want to throw out there, or you just want to comment, please feel free to fill up our comments, and Penny will field those questions or comments while I talk to you about some books. I want to congratulate Sherry Borgman Robinson, who is our first winner in the Summer Wonder kickoff of adult prize giveaways. And Sherry, I don't have the prize with me yet because everything is back ordered now on Amazon, but we will get that prize to you as soon as we can. And we're keeping track of everything. And we are thrilled that you took the time out of your day to comment on our live stream last week. And so I want to tell you that there is another adult prize giveaway tonight. So any of you who comment on either YouTube or Facebook, we will randomly select another winner. So I would encourage you to engage with us. I'm going to be talking about two books that I read, but all of us librarians know that you readers also have awesome recommendations, and we would love it if you would share it in our chat. So please feel free to use that. I also want to remind you that the Summer Wonder Wednesday is our second installment of that is tomorrow, where at 6:30 online, we'll talk about, it's a green idea program. And this week, it's going to focus on reducing waste. And we will be getting guidance from greenmichigan.org. So we encourage you to tune into that program, which is Wednesday at 6:30 tomorrow. So, all right. And finally, a little bit more cleaning house here. We are open for curbside delivery starting next Monday. So if you get an announcement in your email box that's saying your holds are ready, you can tool over to the Cascade branch or any branch and during their open hours, and we will have curbside delivery of your holds. So we're excited to kick off this new service, and we ask for your patience as we sort it out. But it's going to be a wonderful service that we hope to continue to get us through this unusual experience that we are all going through right now. So with those little things in mind, I would like to talk to you about two books that I read recently. The first one is called Sold on a Monday. It is a story by Christina McMorris that was published in 2018. And the book had been recommended to me based on the things that I read in Goodreads. And I was curious about it because I had read The Orphan Train and a couple other books about that time. There was another book that escapes me right now, but it was about children growing up at a time when it was hard for parents to manage their care. And so what those parents did. And I thought it would be similar to that. So I picked it up and it didn't disappoint. It's a really good story. It follows the story of Ellis Reed, who is a reporter that works for the Philadelphia Examiner, but he works in the society section. And he is really hoping to do more profound writing than what he is currently assigned to. And he also happens to be a photographer. So he's driving along a dirt road and he comes across two children on a farm, and he bends down to take their picture, and then he notices the sign that says 2 children for sale. So he takes the picture, goes back to the paper, and develops it in their darkroom. And while after it's developed and drying, another employee of the paper, Lily Palmer, happens into the darkroom and notices the picture right away because of the tragedy of these small children being for sale. So she takes the photo to the chief of the paper, who asks Ellis Reed to write his first feature story based on this photograph. So as he's writing this story, he goes to retrieve the photograph, and both it and the negative were damaged and unusable for his story. So, kind of desperate to propel his career forward, he sets off for the farm again to see if he can capture another picture of the boys. When he goes to knock on their door, a different person answers and says that the family had the good fortune of the father finding work, and this takes place during the Depression, so that's hard to come by. It's in 1931. And so the family immediately moved for this opportunity for the father. But so while Ellis is very happy for the boys that they got to stay with their family, he instantly realizes that he is in a lot of trouble. Now he has a feature story with no gripping photograph. So he notices that there are two children across the street, and in an act of desperation, he knocks on the door and asks the mother that answers if he can take the picture of the two children. And she knows he's going to take it with this for sale sign in front of the kids. And she reluctantly agrees. And in the photograph, she's entering the house as if she's just disgusted by herself and can't face what she just did. And Ellis goes away. The feature story takes off. Everybody in the country has read it, and it propels his career. Donations pour in for the family because everybody wants the family to stay together. And it really is even more successful than Ellis had hoped. So Ellis takes off for this job in New York. And as the donations are accumulating, Lily Palmer, the other character who had spotted the picture early on and taken it to the newspaper chief, she decides that she's going to drop the donations off to the family. And when she knocks on the door, she learns that those two children had been sold by a neighbor informs her that they were sold. So the story just takes this tragic turn, and Lily and Ellis are both racked with guilt about what happened to these children because of Ellis's desire to propel his own career. So Lily starts to investigate, and as she is investigating what happened to the mother, she finds out that the mother willingly gave up the children because she believed that she was dying of tuberculosis, and so she sold them to a wealthy banker who lives in California, and in order for them to have since she was a widow, she wanted them to have a life with two parents and have financial security. So, and the story, I don't want to reveal too much of the plot. The story, as we discover more and more about the parents that these two children are sold to. There's kind of a mob plot twist. There's the shadow of grief over a lost child as part of the plot twist, and each of the main characters who tell the story in alternate chapters, both Ellis and Lily, each of those characters also have kind of a part of their history that has formed who they are and the choices that they make. Ellis was one of two children, and his younger brother died suddenly when he was little, and so he's been living in the shadow of this sort of formative grief in his family's life, and so he has always tried to prove himself to his father, and so that's kind of the cross that he bears as he tries to make his way as a professional in his adult life. And Lily is, unbeknownst to anybody that she works with, she is a single mother, and she is what became pregnant out of wedlock when she was in her late teens. And now she's trying to make her way as a professional, having this secret that she doesn't want anybody to know, but also still trying to provide for her child and create a normal life. So it's got these, a lot of like familial and domestic themes throughout it. And so if you like those kind of stories, I think this would be a good choice for you. It would be a really good choice for a book club. A lot of people ask, is this based on a true story? And Christina McMorris, the author, had come across a photograph when she was doing research on something else that was taken in 1948 she found it in Indiana, but it was of a family of 4 children on a stoop in a Chicago apartment area. And it had a sign that said, children for sale, 4 children for sale. And so she started researching the story behind that. And that is the sort of the twist that she found out from reading that is what inspired her to write this book. Now, I was really surprised by some of the twists in the story, and there were a couple predictable, like looming romances, but that kind of just added a little softer side to the story for me. So that is the story of Sold on a Monday. It's by Christina McMorris, and it is available on Hoopla as an ebook. The next book I want to talk about is, let me see here. It is The Invention of Wings, and it is by Sue Monk Kidd. Sue Monk Kidd is the author that wrote The Secret Life of Bees. And this book, I can't remember when this book came out, but it is available as an ebook on Overdrive, and it's also available as an audio book from RB Digital, as an audio download from RB Digital. So the Invention of Wings takes place in the 1801 in Charleston. Wait, is that right? In South Carolina, and it follows the story of Handful. Now, if you don't love the book from the name of the main character as Handful, I don't know what to tell you. And she is a handful in every sense of the word. She was given that name because she was tiny at birth, and she is a slave for the Grimke family. She is raised to bring up supporting Handful's mother, Charlotte, who is the seamstress for the Grimke family. And the Grimke family has maybe 6 kids at the beginning of the story. And when one of the girls, Sarah, turns 11 years old, she is given Handful as a gift for her birthday. So she's given the slave Handful as a gift so that Handful can be her maid. Now, Sarah has a very elevated sense of sensitivity towards the plight of the slaves that live on their property. And when she was very young, at age 4, she witnessed the abuse of a slave that ended up leaving Sarah with a stutter because she was so traumatized by what she saw and heard. So that kind of sets the stage for in some ways, for the seeds of the rest of her life. Now, Sarah did not want to receive Handful as a maid, and even tries to give her back to her parents, and they would not have anything of it. So then she kind of realizes that Handful might be better off in her protection. Like if Handful is occupied being her maid, then she can't be subject to other abuses in the family. So she kind of ends up not necessarily having a maid and caretaking relationship with her, but really develops a friendship, or it feels like a friendship to Sarah, where they have tea parties together on like the roof overlooking the water. And there's some really kind of poignant moments where they're both just little girls. And those were some really beautiful images of that part of the book. Let's see. So one of the things that Sarah does is she is a helper at church, and she decides that she is going to teach the slaves the alphabet. And so she is heard, the slaves and her are heard singing the alphabet. Now, obviously, this did not go over well with the white pastors of the church, and she was reprimanded and told not to ever do that again, and taken off the duty of being in charge of teaching the slaves during Sunday school. So that's just evidence of her desire to try to create a better existence for the slaves. Now, Charlotte is Handful's mother, and she is such a marvelously strong character. She is so, actually one of the quotes from the book that would describe it better than anything that I could come up with is, at one point there's the characters are struggling, and Handful says to Sarah, she said, "I'm a slave in body, but you're a slave in mind." And that is so true about Charlotte as well. Charlotte had so many dreams that she wanted to fulfill, and she had such a strong character, and she did things just because she wanted to, even if she knew there were repercussions. And she instilled that same strength of character into her daughter Handful. So unfortunately, the downside to Charlotte's character is that it got her into trouble, which she didn't care. She didn't care if she got into trouble. But the problem is that it hurt the people around her. Like she ended up stealing a bolt of fabric and hiding it. And her reason why that she did it was because she wanted to do it. She said she could do it, and so she did. Well, it earned her a punishment that haunted Sarah and Handful both, and really kind of brought their commitment to each other closer, because Sarah kind of had to watch out for the health and safety then of Charlotte and Handful. And at one point even promises Charlotte that she will get Handful free somehow. So there's this kind of almost unspoken relationship and respect for each other and for their futures. So as the story goes on, Sarah did not listen to what her parents said. She decided that she would make an effort to teach Handful how to read. And she did. And Handful read really, really well. She was a quick learning at seamstress. She was a quick learning to read. She was just a bright and strong girl. So unfortunately, she wrote her name in the dirt, and it was discovered. And when that happened, both of their lives shifted in a way that they did not want it to shift. Sarah, who really admired her father, who was John, who was a judge, she respected him a great deal. He had devoted his life to the law, as did her brother, and she envisioned herself being a lawyer someday. And in fact, the dad even said to her, you would be better litigator and jurist than Thomas would. So he saw that strength in her as well. When he found out that she had taught Handful to read and write, he forbade her from ever reading again, and he took away all of her privileges to the library, and obviously Handful's as well. And that propelled her into this deep depression, because not only had something that she really enjoyed doing taken away from her, but also her dreams for her own future. As she grew deeper and deeper depressed, her mother grew concerned about her at about the same time that she found out that she was pregnant with their 7th child. So the mother now is about ready to give birth, and she's older than most mothers at that time. And and her daughter is deeply depressed. And Sarah sees this as an opportunity to ask her mother for a favor. And the favor that she asks is, can I be the baby's godmother? And the mother reluctantly concedes. And that sets Sarah on a path of like religious discovery and a discovery of a new mission in her life on all fronts. And so her sister's name is Nina. So I don't want to reveal too much of the story, but she and Sarah, even though she has her goddaughter, she ends up falling in love with a fellow named Burke Williams. And even though there's some kind of evidence of him being a little bit devious, she is full on in love with him because she's never had a romantic partner ever. And it's the family is involved and encouraging her to get married. And so that's kind of setting itself time. Handful obviously day-to-day care of Sarah as she once was, and she becomes getting very close to her mother, and they are creating a quilt that tells the story of their ancestors. And the descriptions and the symbols of this quilt are just amazing. There's a lot of bird symbolism and color symbolism, and the symbols throughout in the quilt as well as throughout the whole story are very there's a lot of them. And that was added a lot of that was one of the things that, even though I didn't remember the detail of the story, because I have read this is the second time I've read it, I remembered that it had a lot of really beautiful bird imagery in it. So at the time that Handful is working on this quilt with her mother falls in love with a man who has purchased his freedom with the money that he won winning the lottery. So she gets involved with Denmark Vesey, who is devoted to empowering slaves to free themselves. And that awakens even more the strength in Charlotte to want to become free. And so she begins saving a lot of money so that she can purchase not only her freedom, but Handful's freedom as well. And Charlotte gets pregnant. She's going into town when she's pregnant very early on, before her and Handful can even really discuss what that's going to mean for them. When she's walking down the street, there's a white woman on the sidewalk, and Charlotte refused to get off the sidewalk for the white woman because she would have had to step in mud, and she was all dressed up to see Denmark. And because she refused to do that, she was accosted by an officer, and she ran for the hills, and she disappeared for years. When she doesn't come home that night, Handful is distraught, and because she knows her mother is pregnant, she knows she was supposed to come back. She doesn't come back. Day after day, the Grimke family searches for her everywhere, and they cannot find her. And the whole time, Handful knew they wouldn't find her. She knew her mother well enough to know that there was no way she was going to be found by somebody else, which just is a testament to how well they knew each other and how strong they were for each other and for themselves. And Handful falls into this grief from losing her companion and her mother that she loves so deeply. And so Sarah witnesses this deep depression that Handful is cycling into as she walks day after day around the property of the Grimke's, and especially this tree that has become very meaningful. Again, another symbol that that Sue Monk Kidd uses in this book. And that, witnessing that depression in her friend Handful, who is powerless to do anything to reunite herself with her mother, lights a fire in Sarah, and she decides that she is going to become an abolitionist. And so I could talk about this book forever. I enjoyed the conversation I had with my YMCA KDL book clubbers about it, but I don't want to reveal too many details. But the story is just a really, even though it's a fictional story, the author was doing research and found the story of Sarah Grimke and Angelina Grimke, her goddaughter, and the story of them as being the first female abolitionists. And that is what compelled her to write the story, The Invention of Wings. And it also is told from multiple perspectives. I love those kind of stories because I love to get in the heads of each of the individuals. It gives me such a better sense of who they are. And so it is based on it is historical fiction, but it is based on the lives of the abolitionists. And so I would strongly encourage you to read this book if you haven't already. It's an oldie, but a goodie, and it'd be absolutely fabulous for a book club. And we do have it available in 2 formats, one from RB Digital in audio and also as an ebook from Overdrive, and that is Sue Monk Kidd's The Invention of Wings. So I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a long talk, but I hope you felt like it was a good talk. I know I enjoyed spending time with you. Please enter a comment when you view the video, and you will be entered to win one of our wonderful summer prizes. And I thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening, and remember, Curbside's opening next week. We can't wait to see ya.